Welcome to Knife Chats with Tobias. I'm Tobias. This here's Kitty. She's the production staff. We're going to get the show on the road in just a second. But if you like what you're seeing, give it a big old thumbs up and leave us a good old comment. And don't forget to share it with your friends. And as always, if you really like it, subscribe and ring that notification bell. Kitty loves it when you ring that notification bell. Ain't that right, Kitty? Yeah, I know. Stick around, it's going to be a great show. Well, I've already done 2 videos on this knife. This is the Rough Ryder Reserve barback knife. And I've probably talked about it for close to an hour already. So why is it here now? Because as you probably saw from the title, the video has nothing really to do with this knife, other than the fact that when I did a video, the first video on this knife, I showed the Rough Ryder Select Barrel Bartender's knife, and a couple people had made comments on that knife, and a couple people actually on that knife, and said that they prefer that much more as a bartender's tool than this knife. And so I figured, what the heck, why not talk about the Rough Ryder Select Bartender's knife, the pros and cons of that knife. And I figured as long as I'm doing that, I would tell you why it came about. Because the Rough Ryder Barrel Select has been around for a long time, and I never really bothered to review it. And so, without further ado, let's introduce the Select Barrel by Rough Ryder. And the thing it has that the barback doesn't have, the corkscrew. And as you can tell, one of the cool things about corkscrews is you can actually twist them together and have fun with them. Can't do this with the barback. Any case, let's talk about the knife. As you can tell, it's got these really dark handles on them. These are wood handles. They don't specify what kind of wood it is, but it's a nice dark wood handle. I'm sure it's like a pack of wood of some kind. And you notice that it has laser engraved in there, Select Barrel. And it's nicely cut in there, actually. Looks very good, if you can see there. And I like the way the portion that has been cut out is dull. I've actually thought about taking and putting some gold paint in there so that would really pop, and I might actually do that. And that's something I don't fear doing for a knife that costs around well, under $10. And I think if that were done in a nice gold paint, it would really accent the gold ribs on the side here. These are like brass strips that are inlaid into the wood, and then you've also got the brass pins going on there. You see the wonderful brass liners with the stainless steel back springs. And then you've got 2 blade options up on the top here. Now, if you recall, in the barback, you have a Wharncliffe blade, and with the cap lifter cut into it. Well, the Select Barrel, it has a sheepfoot blade. I'm not sure if the sheepfoot blade is the best option for a blade on a bartender's knife, but you can see it's definitely got a good mirror polish going on in it with it, and it is a 440A stainless steel. You see the Rough Ryder tank stamp there, and then the pattern number on the back, the what is it, 1464, made in China. Personally, I would have preferred a spear blade, but it's nice to have something different on a bartender's knife also. So I'm not really arguing about it being a sheepfoot blade. This is something you're going to use for cutting up garnish and stuff for a drink and such. So sheepfoot blade, spear blade, it's a matter of personal preference. The other blade you have up on top here, and this is something that is missing from so many bartender knives, but this one has it, and that is this here blade, which is a combo tool with the front part being a can opener. And yes, it will work. It will cut open cans. I have used it on cans and it works just fine. And then the back side here is your bottle opener. And yes, it is big enough to open beer bottles and such. I have actually opened beer bottles with it, so I do know it works. So the tool option there works really good. And you don't always have a can opener on a bartender's knife. Even most bartender tools do not have a can opener. For instance, let me show you a couple. So now this is your typical waiter's tool. This can be used for opening wine easily enough. It's got a very substantial corkscrew for it, and then the little lifter for that goes on the rim of the bottle so that you can get really good leverage. And these are definitely the most ideal bottle for opening a bottle of wine, or the best tool for opening a bottle of wine. And as you can tell, it also has the cap lifter here. You can open it up and open a can, or you can even use it closed and open bottles with it. So it's a really good cap lifter. The only blade you have on these typically is just a small blade for cutting the label on a bottle of wine, or cutting the foil around a bottle of champagne so that you can open it up easier. That's really what it's designed for. It is not really a knife, and that's your typical waiter's tool. This is not your typical waiter's tool, obviously. Now, when people see a bartender's knife, this is usually what they think of, and this is a pattern that Case came out with in 2003, and it has been around for a long time ever since. This particular one is by U.S. Classics, and it's got a nice little bottle on there, wine bottle, I guess. And you got your corkscrew on the side here, and usually it will pass the 90-degree mark, and it should be able to do that. The other blade you'll have on it is a hawkbill type of blade here, and this is really your label cutting blade. And then it has the blades that you would find on the Gunstock jackknife that Case had at the time, which is a long spear blade and a short pin blade. And the things that are missing on it are a can opener and a cap lifter. But this is usually what people think of when they see a bartender's knife, and it's not really ideal when you think about it, because it is missing the cap lifter, and it is also missing a can opener. And yes, can openers can come in handy as a bartender's knife. And indeed, that brings us to this knife here, which is the Victorinox waiter's tool. And as you can see, it has the long blade on it, which you can obviously use for cutting up fruit and stuff for your drinks and such. So it's very helpful for the bartender. But it also has over here a combo tool, which can be used as a can opener and a cap lifter. So it is basically replaces this blade on this knife. So this has just a combo tool plus the can opener cap lifter on a different style blade. In many ways, this one actually works pretty well, because you get a little bit of extra leverage with this can opener, and this can opener does perform better than the can opener on your Victorinox waiter's tool. So I give props to this tool. It looks goofy. You look at it at first and go, that's never going to work. It looks really cheap and crappy. I've seen this on so many little camp knives and stuff, but I have always been amazed at just how well it actually works. And that's the important thing. As goofy as it looks, it actually works. And that's really the important part about a tool. You want something that you can actually pull out of your pocket and have it work. And that part on this really does work well. So I'm very happy with that. Now, my problem with this knife is really the corkscrew. At first I looked at it and thought, well, that corkscrew looks a little short, but it isn't really any shorter than, it might be a smidge shorter than the corkscrews you find on your Victorinox knives and such, but really not that much shorter. And once you get it out, it works very well. You can actually get it into a cork and pull it out. My problem is the cutout here for the corkscrew, because I have a very difficult time getting my finger in there, and 9 times out of 10 I end up poking my finger with the tip of this corkscrew, and I don't know if you can see it there, but that little bugger is sharp as can be. There is no doubt about it. So my caution to you is be very careful with the corkscrew. I'm hoping that over time it will break in and loosen up a little bit. I don't know if that's the case or not, but that's really the only issue I have with the knife. Is I wish they would have basically lined it up like you see here. Notice you've got plenty of room on the side here to grab it, and that makes it a lot easier to get a hold of. And the same thing with the corkscrew on the Gunstock style of bartender knife, and then you see it here on the Select barrel. And you notice what they did is they mounted the corkscrew on the opposite side. So instead of being on the outer layer, it's actually on this layer, which recesses it into the handle a bit, and so you really can't get as good of a purchase on it. You can see all the cutout here, so this is very easy to get out, very easy, and that makes all the difference in the world. But on the bright side, this one being in the center, it might be a little sturdier. I don't know for certain. I do know one thing, that it is in the center of the handle when you decide to finally open it up and use it on a wine bottle. I'm gonna use gonna pull it out with something else instead of my hand. I don't want to hurt myself. You notice now it's dead center almost in the handle, as opposed to the Gunstock. See how the Gunstock is on one side. This being dead center, maybe that works better, because if you notice on like your typical waiter's tool, it is definitely dead center when it comes out. So that's the plus of the Select barrel. It's a little more difficult, at least for me, to get out at the moment. It might be easier over time, but with it being dead center, that might work a little bit better, or it might give it a little bit more strength because of the way it is sitting. I don't know for certain. But as for the handle size, the handle is only 3 inches, which I guess some people might complain about compared to your typical Gunstock knife, which comes in at almost 3 5/8 or so. But compared to the waiter's tool, the waiter's tool is an 84 millimeter knife. Oops, wrong one. Waiter's tool is an 84 millimeter knife, and that comes in at 3 3/8 of an inch or so. So it's just a little bit bigger. And this one actually has a larger grip going around. And when you put one finger in front, your index finger on one side, you can get your other 2 fingers on there pretty well. So you can definitely get that into the bottle of wine and give it a good yank. And I know a couple of people are going to look at that and they're going to see, wow, should the corkscrew be able to do that? Notice how much it can rock. And my opinion is yes, it should do that, and you want it to be able to do that, because sometimes when you're pulling on a cork, you should be pulling it straight out. That's the best way to do it, is just pull straight out. But sometimes it just doesn't work that way, and you end up wiggling it a bit. And if the cork screw would not be able to give a little bit in both directions, you might end up bending the corkscrew, and it would be more problematic in the long run. So really your corkscrew should be able to go beyond the 90 degree. That is really not a problem. By getting your hand in position, you should be able to get a nice firm, even pull getting the cork out of the bottle. And the corkscrew is long enough to get into the bottle enough, and you will still have a little bit of space in there to get that cork out of the bottle. So I have pulled a few corks with it, but not many. If somebody out there who uses this more extensively, I would love to hear Your thoughts on the corkscrew in the back, if you think it's ideal, if it's good enough to pull corks out of wine bottles. And also I want to know if you find it as problematic as I do, or if you've done any modifying, like trimming this down a bit so that you can get your finger in there a little bit better. That's really the only issue I have with the knife, is that I find it kind of difficult to get to the corkscrew. Of course, you can always use another corkscrew, but that's really not what you're supposed to do, right? But when you do that, then you can have fun with your corkscrews. Any case, that's my thoughts on the Select barrel. I think it's a really good little bartender's knife, and I think they come in around $10, and they're still available. They're still out there. So if you're in the bartender knives and you don't have one, what the heck? It's not a bad little knife to grab. As for the steel used in it, like I said, it's 440A, which when you think about it, is not a bad steel when you consider what a bartender knife is used for. This is a knife sort of like what you have in a kitchen knife and everything. So you do want those high chromium blades that are going to be resistant to rust and everything, and that are going to be food safe. And these blades are definitely going to be food safe. What you will want to do is make sure you give the knife a good cleaning at the end of the night. So is it dishwasher safe? I doubt it, but yeah, you can definitely throw it in some hot soapy water, clean it off, and then give it a little oiling with maybe some olive oil or something, and have that thing ready to go for the next day. In any case, I will let you go. Stick around for some slides. Thanks again for dropping by here at Knife Chats with Tobias. I'm Tobias, and here's Kitty, the production staff. There is a real team working here to get all this stuff done. Could not get it done without Kitty's help. So don't forget to subscribe, ring that notification bell, give us a thumbs up, and don't forget to leave a comment. Kitty loves to read the comments. Thanks again. Talk to you again soon.